meditation practices that help us with connecting with our heart and having more varied responses to the world are the Brahma Vihāras. That's the 4 meditations that explore friendliness and kindness, that explore compassion, that explore sympathetic joy, and then a sense of equanimity. So this is a sort of flow of emotional states and of attitudes that we can bring to our lives. And the Brahma Vihāras are the sort of the 4 meditations that we'll be exploring in this set of talks and doing them as well. And we talked last week about the Brahma Vihāras being the abodes of the gods. So Vihāra means a place to live, or an abode. And Brahma is the name of as sort of a high god from the Vedic religions, sort of from the Vedic religions. So a Brahma heart mind is in a higher plane, has a sort of greater capacity. So I think of the Olympian gods, I think of the Vedic gods, I think of any of these old ancient religions where there was a sense of these higher planes, maybe angels from Christianity. But yeah, their minds are a bit elsewhere. They've got also a way to sort of look out of the world with a bigger capacity than I do in my small and sort of often self-occupied world. So to the Brahma Vihāras are sort of the abodes of the gods. So if we're living from the Brahma Vihāras, then we're living from the mind states that have this bigger perspective and have a lot more, their higher planes are more subtle, more joyful. So that sounds good to me. I'd like a more joyful and sort of open perspective on the world. Yeah. Yeah. So, so last week, just recapping from what Subhadra Ghosha was talking about, we looked at positive emotion, and we sort of looked at how the skillful states of mind, they're flowing and they're creative and they're absolutely natural to who we are as human beings. Positive states of mind, and we all inhabit positive states of mind. We all know what they are. They're not foreign to us. They're completely natural, and there's a sense of they're not just pleasant, but they're a sense of what feels when you feel at ease with yourself, when you feel whole, when you feel in alignment with your deepest values. You're naturally feeling ethical, and there's a sense of meaningfulness to your experience and to what you're doing. Positive states of mind can galvanize your energies. They sort of can be very, very integrating. And when you have these positive states of mind, it's much more easy to connect with yourself and with other people. And he brought out that there can also be an experience of contentment. Not just an absence of wanting, he says, but a deeper integration and a self-sufficiency. So this was a sort of looking at these ordinary positive states of mind. Well, these are really important because the basis of practice, the basis of living a good life and sort of making progress on the Buddhist path, the first step is to become a happy, healthy human being. That's just where we have to start. And sometimes that's a little bit of a path, isn't it? Sometimes that's a little bit of a step up, or there might be bits of ourselves that we have to sort of bring along to sort of get to know a bit and to sort of, befriend and give a bit of loving kindness to. That's where we have to start. We have to start with that sense of ordinary positivity as happy, healthy human beings, starting, living life and being just at ease with ourselves, having our energies at our disposal, being able to easily connect with ourselves, know ourselves, and connect with others. And we looked at a sutta on the first week, the Karaniya Metta Sutta. And this is the place where it starts, the Karaniya Metta Sutta. It says, if you know what is truly good for you and understand the possibility of reaching a state of perfect peace, then this is how you need to live. Start as a capable person who is upright, really upright, gently spoken, flexible and not conceited. Then become contented and happy, with few worries and an uncomplicated life. Make sure your experience is calm and controlled. Be duly respectful. Don't hanker after families and groups, and avoid doing anything unworthy that wiser people would criticize. So that's the beginning of the path of metta, is to be capable, upright, gently spoken, flexible, contented and happy. So these are the positive emotions. Ordinary, wonderful, positivity. Positivity. So these are, of course, natural states. And they are good in their own right. But what's the difference between these states and the Buddhist path, or something a bit deeper, which we're looking at, which we call metta in Buddhism, which we call metta. And I was really thinking of the wonderful medical staff at A&E when I was there. They were incredibly helpful. The person in triage just had this little corner where they were working. It didn't really seem suitable for purpose, really. And he was being positive with everyone he met. And then finally, when I got to see the doctor, who was incredibly busy and incredibly stressed and running from one person to another, he was trying to take the time to be, again, incredibly helpful and positive. But it all felt a bit fragile. And I thought, oh God, how do they, when they get home, how is it? I don't want to have a sense of any disrespect to what they were doing, because it was wonderful to meet this kindness and openness, but it felt very dependent on the conditions. And I thought, oh yeah, or if something happened in the waiting room or something like that, how would they cope? They'd be doing their best, but actually the reserves didn't feel very deep, didn't feel very low. And well, we know, probably all of us here, coping with stress and things like that, people go home and perhaps drink a bit too much, or blob out in front of the TV, or actually sometimes even avoid those relationships of a bit more intimacy, because it's a bit challenging. You don't want to sort of have too much intimacy. You just want to sort of blob out and sort of block out. That's a sort of coping mechanism, and then you go back again. So I really appreciated what I met, but it felt a bit contingent on conditions. And I thought, oh yeah, if you cut in front of them on the way home or something like that, there might be some road rage that came out once they didn't have to do their job of being respectful and kind. So we're trying to, with metta, develop something a bit deeper, develop something that's something that is mine. It's sort of, in a way, I'll contradict myself a bit later, but something that is from me, something that is with me and from me, and is not just dependent on the moment or on my job role to be kind. And actually my job role is to be kind. So how can I bring more and more of myself to that? So I'm not just being superficially kind. So it's something more asked of me, and I can give more of myself and be more connected. So I thought the first thing we could do tonight is to think about this word metta, because we use it a lot. And I wonder if we really know what it means, or, you know, we can have some, we have our definitions, don't we? You know, we can say it means universal loving kindness. That's a definition for metta. But what's it to you? What would be your experience of metta, or how would you describe metta to somebody who doesn't know it? So we might have a range of experiences here in the room. So some people might know the term metta and feel like they can sort of talk from their experience a bit more. Other people might be saying, okay, tell me, I've got no idea.
Well, but when I was talking with Stephen, each of the cases which we were talking about were situations where there was some irritation to start off with, that somehow positive emotion was able to cut through that. Through that we were able to relate to much more humane level. So the positive emotion is what can cut through annoyance or irritation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. With yourself, were you thinking, or with other people? Yeah. So the irritation is with other people. So how does that relate to your own experience as well, do you think?
Well, we found both of us were able to move forward in a much more, just dealing with the situation, we're able to sort of move forward and act more positively, even though we started off with irritation.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it shifted that irritation in a way. Yeah.
Shifting to a more pure sort of mental state.
Great. Yeah, great. So yeah. Okay, great. That's really fab. Thank you.
I've got one, which is metta is broadening out, pushing the envelope of the sorts of people you would like to connect with in the world. Finding the limits of the sort of people you normally don't associate with and going beyond that.
So metta is about stepping beyond your sort of usual comfort zone habits, and then what's the effect of that on your life, Sadharaja?
In my own case, I've almost never been disappointed.
Yeah. So you have an encounter then, or whatever, with somebody that broadens your horizons, or
usually it's a prejudice. I think, I don't really like him, or she doesn't look very interested. And then when I actually talk to them, they're great. I really connect.
Yeah. So metta helps you, just that attitude of metta.
That's it.
Yeah, great.
We're laughing a little bit about how with younger kids, I remember going home and sort of saying, talking to my husband, we're looking at metta, and then my eldest child went, "You're studying WhatsApp?" Doesn't it? It's just metta on WhatsApp. Which I thought it gave me a mini moment of metta, because I wanted to go, and we did kind of have a little chuckle, but then I thought that's actually really unkind, and because actually they've got, and I was like, actually, I wonder what they meant by that. It was a mini metta. I had to really be conscious not to kind of laugh in a way that would be unkind. It did make me laugh and smile, but I thought actually they've come with, I know what metta is. It's WhatsApp. And then it made me think a little bit about being really grateful for elements of social media and things, rather than dissing it all the time. About the connection. So the feeling, I suppose, was just being a bit more open-minded. And sometimes I don't know enough about metta, or we were saying about practicing, but it felt like it just helped wrap around it in a bigger way.
Yeah, and it just gave you that that spaciousness, just that idea of metta gave you that spaciousness to not react in a normal kind of way to ha. You were sort of like realizing, oh yeah, of course, if I laugh now, her contribution will be diminished. Yeah, that's right. So it gave you that space to let her contribution be valued. Yeah. Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah, metta can do that, I think, actually. Just create a bit of space so that you sort of hear the other person a bit more, or respond to the situation with perhaps a bit more awareness of what's going on, or the relationships that are there. Yeah, that sounds good.
I notice I'm less critical of people. I have a kind of critical approach to people, but I've kind of noticed the things that don't match up with the criticism. I think, oh, actually, well, I've got this negative attitude to them. They're not like this. I think they're this way, they're not. And so you see them in a more positive light.
Yeah. It's so easy, isn't it, to pigeonhole people or to decide what they're like. And then just shifting that, broadening out your perspective, and then thinking, oh, come on, who are they really? Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
There's a few online.
Oh yeah, Stephen.
Comments. So you might have to repeat them.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So Peter Bradley, Peter says it's genuinely and kindly engaging with, being empathetic.
Genuinely and kindly engaging with
others and being
empathetic. And being empathetic.
Samudra Gosha, open-heartedness.
Open-heartedness.
Colin says metta is a self-fueling spring. In giving love and care to others, I nurture this feeling of love and care within me.
Oh,
Keep giving more to others.
So metta is a self-fueling spring.
Self-perpetuating spring.
Yeah. Got a nod over there. Does that chime with your experience as well, Prakash? Yeah.
We were talking a bit about that actually, weren't we? We sort of like when you remember to sort of open up a bit to another person, and in a way you feel like you're doing it for them. And you sort of realise that actually you feel better.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like just a big all-round win.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like standing in a queue at the post office or something like that, and you think, oh well, gosh, they've got tough jobs. I'll be generous. I'm so good, and be patient, be kind to them. And actually, it's a win-win. Actually, my irritation levels go down. I can just be in the queue a bit more, and I can just respond. Actually, that person may be a bit busy and bored and not particularly taking me in. My metta may or may not impinge on their world hugely, but it's better than it's better than the opposite. And actually it may also, and it's certainly better for them than me being irritated. So yes, you can't always expect the world to give you the rewards and sort of trumpets and things like that.
But then often something does happen.
And often something does happen.
But and it might not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but yes, exactly. So you sort of, you do it, and then actually you don't know what's going to happen. But there's an open-heartedness or something, a flowingness.
Yeah, I feel like you're sending the love without attachment. You're just sending it into the universe or what have you, and then letting it spread however it needs to spread.
Yeah.
And if it comes back immediately, great. But if it doesn't take away, I feel like, your integrity of what you doing it in the first place. And that's what's more important. Yeah,
there's something about that sort of sense of gently moving through the world or something, or moving through the world, I don't know, appropriately, or sort of with a sort of attitude of openness or something. It's a nice way to move through the world, rather than sort of, I don't know, when I'm not in that space. Well, I'm just not really very aware, actually, mostly. I'm thinking of what's the other opposite of that, but there's no opposite. It's not quite an opposite. It's more that I'm just a bit shut off and disconnected. But when I've got that sort of sense of openness to the world, I flow through the world a bit more. It's great. I am coming off retreat. You can often have the experience of I don't know, free hot chocolates, and things go really well, unexpected things. And I'm not particularly thinking metta, but I've been on retreat for 10 days or 2 weeks, and there's a sort of something's happened, and I'm not consciously doing anything, but I've shifted something and I'm open to the world, and actually the world really meets me back. So not that I expect free hot chocolate or the extra biscuit, but you know, sometimes it just sort of really flows, or you get through something really, really easily, because actually the intensity of that sort of practice means that I'm in a completely different experience to my normal experience. Not sort of, so I don't recognize myself, but there's a level of metta and positivity there that sort of just gets shared with the world. So, you know, coming back from retreat, you never know what you can expect.
Do you ever recognize it as well? You know, when something happens and you feel really taken care of. And I just thought, as you said that, you know, something occurs and then there's a feeling that like, what was that? It's a bit mysterious.
It's mysterious, isn't it?
And it kind of comes and you think that was beyond just the normal everydayness of the coming in, you know. I'm thinking of the time when somebody's really just helped me with a situation with my children that I couldn't manage, and somebody's just coming and you thought, wow, you were there right then and you had all this skill that I didn't have, and it feels bigger than what it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Metta.
I think that's right. Yeah. And so I'm going to read again a quote from Sangharakshita, and I feel like this is his definition of metta. I read it on the first week, but I just think it's really worth reading again, because I feel like this is him describing metta. So Sangharakshita is the founder of the Triratna Buddhist order and my teacher. So he says, I believe that humanity is basically one. I believe that it is possible for any human being to communicate with any other human being, to feel for any other human being, to be friends with any other human being. This is what I truly and deeply believe. This belief is part of my own experience. It is part of my life. It is part of me. I cannot live without this belief, and I would rather die than give it up. For me, to live means to practice this belief. So I think it's sort of what we've been saying, really, isn't it? Absolutely no boundaries, no borders, no inhibitions, no pigeonholing, a sort of real curiosity about other people, and a real openness to connecting with other people, and that in its has value in and of its own sort of thing. That's all you need, this sort of sense of being able to connect. And he lived his life like that. He lived his life really being able to connect with people from all different backgrounds, really beautifully, not superficially, and always with a lot of interest and love and willingness to sort of go there with people. He also got a lot of people sort of coming into him with sort of maybe a bit sort of sycophantic or, you know, a bit inhibited or whatever, but he would sort of sit with that and just try and sort of connect with the person, put them at ease, see if they could sort of calm down a bit perhaps, and sort of try and make that real connection beyond any sort of guru worship or anything like that. So I think we can make our own definitions of metta. We can find our own symbols for metta and our own ways of making that sort of come alive for us. And I think that's really important, because it's a very particular word, and it's really, it's good to use the word. It's good to sort of get to know it somehow, but we get to know it individually as well as collectively, what metta means. But find out what it means to you. Find out what metta really means to you. What is it what is it that's worthwhile in this concept? that's inspiring in this concept, and that is going to sort of lead you on. It's going to enrich your life. So yeah, because metta itself, this universal loving kindness, this openness to other people, openness to ourselves and to all life, this is a completely natural way to be. So we don't need to be taught what it is, and we don't need to necessarily always take on official definitions. We can sort of lean into it, feel into it, get to know it, get to recognize, oh yeah, this in my experience, oh, I guess this is metta. This is metta flowing with me. Oh yeah. And that way it's easier to inhabit. It's easier to recognize within ourselves. And then that's really great, isn't it? Because when we know it, we can actually be with it, sit with it. And I was going to say augment. It's sort of such a clunky word. We can, doesn't feel like the right word. It can flow from us a bit more. It can get broader and deeper. We can be more metta. We can be more metaphor. I'm a bit hamstrung with my gestures today. Yeah. So we've so I think hearing about this as well, we sort of get a sense that metta isn't just isn't a thing really. It's an intention. It's an attitude. It's a way of being. It's not it's not a thing to have, and it's not really particularly a feeling. It has feelings associated with it, feelings of positivity, warmth, openness, flow, less separation. So those are all the feelings. But sometimes, I mean, I did this a lot. I mistake the feeling for the metta. And there's just a little sort of subtle difference. It's not sort of just all fuzzy and lovely and warm and I feel metta. It's a deeper way of being in the world. It's living with that intention of metta, with that intention of connection. And I think metta is about not turning away from experience. So metta is always just turning towards our experience with kindness, with interest, and with curiosity, really. No lack of judgment, and that's what kind of can be a barrier to metta, is when we don't turn towards the experience. So it might be when we do have these irritations with ourselves or with other people, and you just fix it or ignore it or think it's too much trouble or believe that it's out there. That person out there is an irritant to me. But actually, if you have the attitude of metta, then actually it's an attitude that will always turn you towards what is to the irritating person. And it might be a really valuable person to you in a way. Could be your mother. It could be your partner or your children at times, your colleagues, people that you know. People are irritating. I'm irritating. And so to just sort of label these things sometimes limits not just our sort of sense of connection with individuals and people, but limits how we are in the world, limits where we can go, who we can be with, but or in all sorts of ways. So an attitude of metta is an attitude of turning towards other people, but turning towards our experience, so that we can sort of get over that barrier that is between myself and the other person or the situation, and bringing that kindly awareness to the situation. And this is not an insignificant practice. This is a really deep and difficult practice, to turn towards our experience and to turn towards others. This is a practice and an attitude and a way of being that is long reaching and is difficult. It's difficult to turn towards. It's difficult to hang on in there when you don't want to be in communication, or actually it's something in me that I need to change, something in me that I need to be aware of. It's usually both, isn't it? There'll be an attitude that I have that needs to, that is blocking. So the metta helps me turn towards my own experience with kindliness, with curiosity, with, as much as we can, a lack of judgment, just to be with, what's that feel like when I'm in touch with my experience? What's that like? You know, oh God, I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my guts. Actually, I'm going to punch something, whatever it is, you know, to be with your experience, to stay with that, and then to be with another person is a difficult thing to do. But metta is the practice that will, or is the attitude and the intention to stick in there. And actually, then the barriers get broken through. Then the real communication happens. And then actually the metta can really flow because we're really truly with ourselves and with the other person. So it's a far-reaching quality metta, far-reaching attitude. And it shifts our worldview. That's why it's a Brahma Vihāra, because it shifts something. So no longer does the world sort of feel like it's full of people who are sort of blocking and irritating, and no longer am I so irritated by myself. It shifts that to a sense of more acceptance, but also the possibility of change, the possibility of transformation. And I think, so in the Metta Bhavana, the first stage is that where we focus on ourselves. So we cultivate metta and an intention to have metta towards ourselves. It is an absolutely key stage. And actually, I just always sort of feel like, wow, the wisdom of the Buddha 2,500 years ago, for the people who were then and who we are now, we haven't changed that much, have we? The teaching is just as relevant back then as it is now. And in fact, it might even be more helpful to us now. I don't know what it was like back then, but you know, we do feel very self-critical of ourselves and compare ourselves a lot more. So it's a real problem sometimes, developing just a healthy connection with who we are right now and how we are, with all our flaws and our failings and our strangenesses and weirdnesses, all of those sorts of things, to feel just fine with all of that. I was saddened actually to hear Michelle Obama on the radio and you know, anyhow, about her book that's just sort of come out. I heard it on the radio. I don't know how you heard it. And she's revealed in her book that's just coming out that she is very uncomfortable in her own skin. She's very judgmental of herself as a tall black woman. She's always critical of her body and uncomfortable in that experience. And I thought, oh no, not you, Michelle. You know, I really wanted her to continue to be this sort of beacon of inspiration. And I guess it's great that she sort of is honest and she's sort of being really human about it. But, you know, even Michelle Obama, you know, who puts herself out there and, you know, is so visible and, you know, is such an inspiration. She's got this critic that is sort of inhibiting her with just how she is as a tall black woman. Well, that's just, you know, we all think she's beautiful, probably. You know, what a beautiful woman, but this critic is in there, and it sort of comes from, you know, who knows where. So yeah, even Michelle Obama, but you know, all of us, we have our places where we sort of won't go with ourselves, perhaps, or our sort of criticisms or our uncomfortableness. And so we need to really, really bring a lot of self-acceptance and a lot of self-love. That first stage of the Metta Bhavana is absolutely crucial. I suppose I'm putting a bit of emphasis on this because it's sometimes easy to jump over it, or to do it in a sort of more of a oh, okay, I've done that stage now. But it's key, because actually from there, that's the wellspring that we go out to the world with. And if we can't bring more metta to ourselves and our, you know, who we are, just as we are, then we're going to be lacking in our sort of sense of metta out to the world. So I really would encourage everyone to look at that first stage. And I think there's a sense of you don't have to do all the work. The metta is just there. So it's not that I have to love myself or have that sort of metta in a way that I need to generate it all. And I do, or I need to be perfect, and or I need to just have self-acceptance and surrender. Let the process happen. Experiment, see what really sort of comes up for you. But also there's a sense of metta is not something that's just in me, is just mine. Metta just is. So actually there can be a sort of openness. You can bring an attitude of openness to something that's not personal. Metta in a way is not personal. It's deeply personal, but it's not also personal. So you don't have to worry about having an inflated ego, or you know, papering over the cracks or gilding the cracks. In fact, let the cracks be there. I really love the Leonard Cohen song that talks about the cracks are important because that's how the light gets in. So learn to love the cracks, learn to let them be there. We don't have to ignore them, but it's not that it's just a sort of metta that I have to generate. Actually, there's another level of metta that is about just being present with loving kindness, and see what happens with that. It doesn't have to all come from me. There can be an acceptance and an openness that's not just not just generated by me. And I think that's the same with metta for the whole of the Metta Bhavana, actually. Doesn't all have to come from, generated from me. Sometimes there's the attitude can be of openness to what arises. So turning towards your experience with metta, and the metta can sort of be present and flow. That's not, I don't feel like I have to sort of crank it up. It sort of just flows. And I just wanted to mention, so all of these metta and these other sort of Brahma Vihāras, they have a near enemy. So the near enemy of metta is a sort of sentimentality. And sometimes you can feel like you're sort of connecting with someone through metta, but actually it's a bit stickier than that. There's a bit of self-interest, or a bit too much of self-interest. So just watch out for that. You know, explore what metta is, and sort of you can see if there's a bit of stickiness or sentimentality. I have a completely gorgeous nephew, and I know that my metta, my connection with him, has this element of sticky sentimentality. You know, I sort of, well, actually, I do work on it. I do try and sort of put metta in there, but I just love him, but I want him to love me. So that's where it sort of gets a bit sort of sticky and sentimental. And, you know, sometimes, yeah, and of course, you know, just play your computer game, whatever. But I really love him. And it, yeah, perhaps it's a bit sticky and sentimental. You know, I don't have to feel bad about that. I can just sort of be aware where it inhibits him and sort of, you know, get to know it a bit.